and we should be recording as well. All right, guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Battlefield podcast. All right, it's episode 2, and with me today, as always, I have Izzy.
How's it
I've
going,
got
people?
Mambo
Yep.
and Flakfire,
How's it going?
and your host Ekolimits here as well. All right, so we've been playing lots of different games, and before we get into the whole gaming thing, I just want to throw out a couple of things, do a little housekeeping. First off, I want to make sure I ask you guys that the audio you're getting is not being super mixed in with the music. As you can hear, there's music in the background. I'm gonna try to tone it down a bit, just so it's normal. Here, I'll restart the music. Um, so we added some music to this thing. We're also going to be posting it to iTunes most likely this week. If you can't catch it on YouTube, on Flax or Izzy's channel, you can catch it on iTunes and subscribe there. And obviously, where can you find us? So quick tidbits. If you haven't already done so, haven't subscribed to IzzyGoneCrazy on YouTube, or Flakfire on YouTube, you should do so. If you haven't followed myself and Mambo on Twitch, go ahead and do that. And today's quick questions, if you're wondering which stuff we're going to be talking about, is I feel like it's always great to start out with something about us, and we're going to tell you guys what we've been up to. The other questions that are lined up, we're going to be talking about the DLC that just got announced with the exact details that they gave us. There's still some stuff they kind of left out, so it opens up for some nice, interesting perspectives. The second thing that we're going to talk about Battlefield is how casual is it, you know? Lots of stuff out there on the internet talking about how casual Battlefield is, so we're going to talk about that. And the other thing that we're going to be talking about is in-depth, just talking about the gunplay, what guns are overrated, underrated. Maybe you can join in and let us know as well. The last thing I'm going to say before we get started is send us your questions. Questions go to the Let's Talk Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can also join live on the recording on my Twitch channel. The links are probably somewhere, wherever it is posted, wherever you're watching this. And let's fire off. Izzy, what have you been playing, man?
All right, so last week I decided to pick up Rainbow Six Siege, which is something I held off doing. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I was looking at competitive games to play, and everyone kept telling me amazing things about it. So I got it. I was a complete year late to the game, but I've been playing it nonstop for the past week, and I'm pretty addicted. Now, I'm a massive noob, and I've been getting my butt kicked pretty heavily all week, but it's been a nice change of pace to play something where, I'm not good. I don't want to pat myself in the back, but when I play Battlefield, I've played it enough. It's not a huge challenge anymore. So jumping into Rainbow Six Siege it's been a learning curve, but it's been really fun to play something where, I don't always do very good. It's something that I can get better at. It's a challenge. And I don't know. I've liked it a lot. It's been really fun.
That's a cool game to pick up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mambo, hit us with what you've been up to.
Yeah, man. Been playing some Battlefield during the week, and then I recently started playing some For Honor beta, and I really am enjoying that game. Total, like Izzy says, a total mix away from the standard Battlefield scene. You actually have to wait for people to hit you, which is not what you want to do in a shooter, because you play counteracting to what they do. So it's kind of like a fighting game, but been really enjoying that. There's also I think there's a Wildlands beta coming out next week. I heard it's a little bit more co-op rather than if they kind of like do a third-person view, then they go into a FPS kind of first-person shoot, view. I don't know how I feel about that, but if I get a code for it, I'll try it out. If not, I'm always love Battlefield. I'm going to be on Battlefield. That's my home. So yeah, I've been playing For Honor, man. I think the beta for that stops at the midnight tonight or tomorrow night. So I'll be back on Battlefield.
That sounds awesome. Flak, hit us with what you've been up to.
Pretty much I've just been playing Battlefield, to be honest. I do have other games, like Rainbow Six, and I think I played that a little bit. I did get a code for this kind of indie World War II game called Day of War, um, or Days of War, I think it is. And I've been playing that, and unfortunately, it's with a mouse and a keyboard, not not the controller. So hadn't been doing that well in there, but it was kind of neat because there's no World War II first-person shooter games really out on the market right now, aside from that one in Battalion 1944. I think so. I did play a little bit of that, but primarily just been playing lots of Battlefield 1 because I'm psyched about that DLC. So
How do
that's
they
where I'm at.
how do they compare to BF1?
Well, Days of War is supposed to be more realistic. So I of course grabbed the heavy machine gun in the game, and I'm like, all right, you could just hip fire this thing, and it's like you take a shot with it, and it's literally the barrel just walks up really really quick. So you have to go prone and deploy it, and so it is considerably more. There's a much higher learning curve with things on that. When you got to be used to playing that kind of game, and Battlefield 1, in that sense, much more approachable for uh, the masses, I think. But it was still fun, still a fun experience.
All right, that's pretty cool. All right, so I'll hit you guys also with what I've been playing. Just like these guys, have been playing a lot of Battlefield, loving operations. It doesn't get old to me. The other thing I've been playing that's not Battlefield related, I played one day of Rainbow Six, just kind of messing around with the subs and the followers, and that was pretty good. Rainbow Six could be a lot of fun, but it is very competitive, and if your team is not ready, because the whole matchmaking system kind of does a good job. I don't know, it's up there. Sometimes you get matched against really difficult players who are high leveled, even though in your squad you got some people who are lesser level, and it's hard to bring them up, and then so you have like a hard time playing. But for the most part, it was all right. I still like playing Battlefield more, obviously, but it's nice to throw down another game. And the other game I've been playing, which is kind of not related to FPS at all, it's called Tales of Berseria. It just came out, and if you guys don't know, what it is like an RPG, but instead of like that traditional thing where you just sit in there and you press A to attack, like in Pokemon or something, and they just do it, you're the one actually doing the moves, kind of like a fighting game. So in essence, kind of like what you were talking about, Mambo, you know how you actually have to play and guard and stuff, except it's way more simpler than For Honor. From what I've seen from your gameplay, For Honor has like this whole system: parry, left, right, and forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tails is a little easier than that, but like the combos look cool and everything else. And I haven't even been playing much myself. I actually just watched my girlfriend play. It's what I've been playing. We're all filled in. So besides playing other games, besides playing Battlefield, let's jump into the second question. All right. So the biggest news since we've talked has been the DLC details. You guys got some opinions on that? Anybody want to go, or should I go around? You guys want to go around, or you want to just feel free?
All right, DLC. I'm super excited for it. I can't wait to play the new maps. Some of them look really cool, along with the new vehicles, of course. But to me, what's missing are the weapons. I think we should be getting weapons with the DLC. They just haven't announced any yet. And that's honestly what I care about the most. I want to get my hands on some new guns. So waiting for that news is, it's killing me a little bit because I'm looking at these lists of weapons used in World War I, trying to figure out what they might add to the game, and I have no idea, but there's a lot they could add, and I can't wait to see what we're gonna get because I need some new guns.
Yeah, it's weird that they didn't announce guns, but they announced almost everything else. Why do you guys think that is?
Hype.
Yeah, they don't want to let everything go all at once. They want to keep building up discussion about it. And that's smart on their part. So they release a little bit. Like we saw the little 15-second teaser, and then we got some information the day after that. And so we'll probably see something else this week. We still don't have a release date for when it's going to come out, but I think it was smart to finally say, okay, this is the behemoth, and this is the elite class, and then they're going to, probably flesh that out a little bit more as we get closer. So we build some of that hype. But I think weapons are a part of that. We'll probably see some of that this week or next, and you don't want to let everything go at once.
You know what? I was looking over some of the stuff, and the one thing that got me most excited was the elite. I know the elite's like just like a walking, talking tank, but this time around they're making an elite kind of very specified to one thing, and they always kind of been. The flame trooper's kind of like, yo, that close range, he can win. Then you got your other guy that's kind of close range too with the SMGs, but he's got like sort of like medium, also pretty good. And this time around we're getting somebody who can just melee. I wonder what that looks. I just want to know.
I'm curious to see if it's a one-hit kill or not, because if it's not a one-hit kill and you have to do an animation every single time you want to kill someone, you're going to be super vulnerable to being meleeed yourself, because half the time I go to knife somebody, I just get knifed right after I knife them because I'm vulnerable. So
that is true. I don't think he's gonna one hit people, because you know how DICE loves their melee animation. Like they want to show you how he's beating them down. Like I don't think so.
Too easy to take out then.
I looked at the trailer, and he does have a holster on his hip there, so I think he's going to be primarily, grenades, melee, and then like a short range pistol type of thing. But the one thing that I would really like to see from that particular elite, because if you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, how does he stand apart from the other elites that are in the game, where you got the big slow moving sentry with the big machine gun, or with the Villa Perosa, and then you have the flame trooper, and then you have the anti-tank class there. So how is this guy gonna fit in? So we know he's got grenades, but I think if anything that I would like to see out of him is that he moves faster.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please. Yes.
I mean, I would love to see that.
Especially with how vulnerable, he really is. If we look at, the weapons that are available to him, like I don't want him, all the Rainbow Six people will get the Tachanka reference, but it's like, you don't want him to be kind of that thing that should be awesome, but then everybody ignores. And if he doesn't do something, particularly useful, speed is very, very important. And if you want to get historical, it's like everybody who did the stormtrooper tactics, everything was based on striking quickly. Like they started out with, really suiting people up in armor, and they found that speed was a better asset. So, I want to see this guy really be able to move quickly, and that goes along with the grenades, where he can chuck grenades in there and then run into melee to finish off who's ever injured. But it's still, I think he's really going to be like this fragile elite, because I don't think they'll change it away from how it's been, where if you melee an elite from behind, or you bayonet charge,
no, it'll be one hit kill. I doubt this guy won't get one hit killed.
So I don't know. I mean, he's going to be very, very fragile. So I expect like 2 different kinds of grenades, which is something that we haven't seen yet in Battlefield. And I don't know how that would work, but I'd hope he moves quickly.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Beast the Bolos in the chat kind of mentioned, since he's melee, he'll probably be a huge anti-elite class, and I wonder if that is, because like if he's going to be so fast, I imagine he's not gonna have that much health. So he'll probably be like the Flame Trooper. Flame Trooper has modest amount of health, not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you can single-handedly take a Flame Trooper down with like a LMG, like just keep firing at him. But it'd be interesting. I mean, anti-elite, elite against elite, like it's so rare, like you just kind of like don't really see that.
Yeah.
Well, with this elite class, you're gonna have to use it only in like specific areas, because if he doesn't have a range weapon, you can't leave like close quarters areas. So you're gonna have to stick like wherever the buildings or trenches are. So he's gonna be specific to one location, probably on each map. So I doubt he's going to be doing much roaming. So hopefully he spawns near the objectives. I would hate for him to like, you know, be like way off in the middle of nowhere and you have to like run across no man's land to get to where you can be useful.
Yeah, what's up with that? They do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the tank hunter is like predominantly out there in the boonies. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's how it is on Sinai. You know, it's like, oh, you want to get the tank hunter? Well, you got to run 3 miles there and 3 miles back for him to be, you know, particularly useful.
Well, if he runs so fast, right?
I guess that's true. Yeah. So
maybe he'll have a super. He can sprint as fast as a bayonet charge or something.
I think that'd probably be a little bit too much. But if he can outrun a tank, that would be a benefit. That's still something that bothers me about this game, that you can't outrun the tanks.
Yeah, I know, and that's like historically they were so slow, right?
Yes,
they were
very slow.
Specifically designed to go at infantry walking speed. Like they.
Also, that was on purpose. They were slow. Yeah. I thought they were just slow.
No, the whole idea was that they were done to support infantry attacks and to move alongside the infantry. So they basically said, okay, how armored up can we get this to where it'll still go, you know, 5 miles an hour?
Wow, quite interesting. So if we're on the topic of tanks, because the other thing that was kind of announced is a brand new tank alongside the DLC. That caught me off guard because I'm used to what we've gotten in Battlefield 4. We've gotten a few maps, few you know, guns, and usually a game mode, and we never really gotten a new vehicle. I know we gotten a vehicle, Izzy, you mentioned it a few times, but it was just like a rare occasion, like, oh snap, we got a new vehicle. All right. So what do you guys think about this new tank?
Which new tank? Are we talking about the
Behemoth?
Oh yeah, we got two. See that? That's
the Saint-Chamond.
I guess we could talk about both, whichever.
Yeah. Well,
I can't wait to use the Behemoth. Just to throw that, it looks so damn cool. I can't wait to jump in that thing.
That will be pretty awesome. I'm interested to see how it's going to be balanced, you know, because we have this Behemoth that can go anywhere. You know, it's not on rails. It doesn't have to, you know, move in a particular set line. So you can take it and use it in, you know, ways that you couldn't use the armored train. You know, you'll be able to probably play it like just a larger version of another tank. And, you know, we've seen in Battlefield 1 some people who play the tank who should probably be banned from playing the tank.
Yeah, they'll drive it off to the side of the mountain.
They sit on the mountain.
Yeah, and they just snipe down, and they're just doing that all game.
It's just like world's largest artillery truck.
KD, you know, just KD.
And hey, maybe that's the case. I'm interested to see how powerful that main gun is going to be. You know, the other ones aren't so much of a concern because it's probably just going to be, you know, regular machine guns and then maybe a Becker cannon on the back of it. But no, it'll be interesting to see how it gets balanced. But I do like that you'll be able to take it if you're driving it and pretty much capture any point. You know, which does make it more team oriented, you know, if you were going to use it that way.
Right, because the current behemoths can only capture a couple points. So something that's mobile is going to be a real game changer. That's cool.
Since it's a tank, though, I wonder if you can repair it, which is what I've been curious about.
Because
if you could, it might be really overpowered. If you could sit there and
that'd be way too overpowered. There's a couple questions in the chat, like do we know if it's not actually going to be on rails? I just can't see how they would do it.
No, I think we know pretty much it's not on rails. I mean, they haven't outright said it, but like you guys said, I mean, you just kind of can't, right?
It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it's not like a Six Flags ride.
Six Flags.
Just around the map.
Yep. You can just go in the strict circle here. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some ways in which DICE designs the maps where, you know, the tanks can't go here or they can't go there to, you know, avoid it just becoming an absolute insane kind of map. But no, I mean, I'm excited for that behemoth. That should be really, really, really awesome there. And I'm excited from the historical perspective because it's a thing that, like, It was in development during World War One, and it was officially finally produced by the time it was over. Um, but it's got such a fascinating story behind it. So for me, it'd be neat to just be in the thing. Like no copies of it exist anywhere
Wow.
uh, in real life. So it's kind of like the armored train in Battlefield 1 2 that nobody knows what happened to the real life version of it. So here's the digital version, and you can play around with it. It's pretty neat.
That's really cool. That is cool. So looking at that, the other part that was interesting about it is the game mode. One of my favorite game modes from Battlefield 4 was Chain Link, like from the DLC. And I've always said this, it's a shame, it's a real shame that you can't really get a game of Chain Link anymore because it's part of a DLC. And I feel like that's always been a problem with that. This been discussed like a lot, like how premium takes away and segments the player base. And I imagine that's going to become an issue in Battlefield 1 as well when we start really getting into the maps and everything else. I already have premium for it, and I think it's going to be worth it in that point. But like this game mode looks interesting. It has that chain link feel, and at the end you get this sort of rush kind of part. It kind of also reminds me of Supremacy from Battlefield. No, the Battlefront. If you guys remember Battlefront Supremacy, kind of like it's linear, but you got to take one point at a time from one another. You can flank each other and stuff. What are some thoughts on the game mode, guys?
I think anything that appears like a tug of war kind of thing. Like I really like Operations, but one thing that I wish it had was that the defenders could push the attackers back.
Right.
Wow.
To like the old.
That's what
sector.
Medal of Honor. That's what Medal of Honor had when you played Operations. Was
really? You can like someone could take a sector.
Set.
Really?
And push it back. Yeah, it was fun.
So you got to fight over that sector again. You don't just start over.
Yeah, and it kind of adds like another dimension to the game, because with Operations, if you're a defending team and you're doing very well, it kind of gets boring sometimes, where it's like, well, I've got my kill hole here, so I can just wait for the next turkey to come around the corner.
Right. Or, okay, we didn't get them this round. Let's just wait until next round when we get more lives again and try again.
Yeah.
It does away with that. It makes it where it's more dynamic, meaning, okay, we can't get here. Let's think about how can we do a different kind of flank route to push this objective. That's why I like the idea that they did in Medal of Honor, but they kind of put it on a ticket system in Battlefield 1, which kind of was a letdown.
So just because, like, I'm sure a lot of people watching right now don't know what that is, because I personally did not play Medal of Honor. How did it work back then? Did you have a ticket system?
If I remember correctly, you got chances to push, and you got so many chances, like 3 tries. So if you pushed that objective once and you got pushed back like a certain amount of lives, then you had to go back one set of objectives. Then you got another set of lives, but it pushed you back another set of objectives. So you got like 3 tries and ticket system. It was a combination of both, I think. It was really cool.
Quite interesting. I never played that game, and I didn't even know it came from there, So it's interesting how that works out. But are the tries same thing as battalions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how did they keep track of if you did not get it on the first try? Like, was it?
I think it was a ticket. I think it was a ticket system, like X amount of lives.
Oh, so similar to what this is, but you can be pushed back.
But it spawned you back at the previous objective, and it said on the screen, you didn't accomplish this sector, retreat back to prior sector, and then that would allow the defending team to actually spawn closer to the previous objective. So it was just like moving the spawn points.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Any other thoughts before we jump to the next section, guys, on the DLC? I mean, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, aside from having another tank in there, the Saint Chamond tank, the artillery, the siege gun, as a stationary weapon.
That's a new gun.
I'm really, really excited for. partially because I just enjoy being ridiculously good with the artillery gun. So I'm like, oh, okay, let's throw another one in there to lend some support when you're trying to push the objective or defend it or something like that. No, that's pretty exciting. And we had a question in the chat as to because we don't have a date yet. When do we think that's going to release? Like, do we think it's going to be mid-February for premium people, or into March, and then it'll come out for everybody mid-March? I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I saw a comment. Somebody was asking that, like, if you think that premium members are gonna get it mid-March. I don't know, man. I doubt it. I somehow don't think that's gonna happen.
I would say early March.
Yeah, that'd be my guess too.
There's a lot of upcoming games in March releasing, so I'm sure the developers have looked at that window. Same thing the movie industry does. They all get a weekend or a date, and they say, okay, they market with each other's marketing team. Say, okay, you guys are releasing this. We're gonna wait because we don't want it to conflict and hurt our numbers. So I think they'll pick a economic prosperity time for them. Something
they definitely look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Because he's right. There are a lot of big games coming out. Mass Effect, Andromeda is coming out in March, and as much as I love Battlefield, when that game comes out, Battlefield is getting put down.
Me too.
In favor of
for a couple
that
weeks.
one.
I never played Mass Effect.
Really?
Me neither.
You should play it. So really good.
My best
really
friend has like stories about that game, and I just kind of nope.
Take a week and just play through all of them. It's worth it.
All right.
You can do it in a week.
Take some vacation time.
Well, if you really, go for it, you could do it in a week.
Yeah, I heard they're pretty long games. Okay.
Somebody mentioned Ghost Recon Wildlands is in March too.
Yep.
And that I'm excited to play the beta for that. That'll be fun.
But it has no multiplayer, right?
It has multiplayer.
It's
like sure?
co-op sort of multiplayer.
No,
Like,
okay. I meant fully
PvP.
online versus
Yeah. No.
Honestly, for
It's
me,
more like the
PvP
Division.
is what messed up the Division for me. So
Big time.
with co-op multiplayer in Ghost Recon, I think it'll probably be an interesting game.
So it's gonna be more in line, like you said, with the Destiny.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Grind to get your weapons, to get your kits and stuff, right?
But minus the multiplayer aspect, like no PvP.
Okay. Yeah, but in Destiny, you don't. When you go to a place, can you fight one another? No, right?
No, only if you go to like the Crucible in Destiny, which is like their multiplayer PvP area.
Okay. Quite interesting. All right, guys. We're gonna go switch over to the next topic at hand. And this is another one that was really, really highly discussed, and I've seen YouTube videos by Izzy, and I've seen YouTube videos by like Level Cap and those guys. A lot of people are talking about, is Battlefield 1 too casual? And I wanted to throw it out there, get everybody's opinion, but this time we're gonna go around and just listen in to everybody because people are making this as a complaint for the game that it is. And is it warranted or is it not? Let's just go around and see how everybody feels. Izzy, what do you think about the whole casual status?
Okay, I think Battlefield 1 is like the most casual of the Battlefield games. And to a certain extent, I understand why they've made it more casual. It's because it can appeal to a wider audience, people who have never really played Battlefield before. But as a Battlefield fan, I hate it. I really hate how they're making games really easy. In a large part, it feels like they're trying to take the skill away and put everybody on a level playing field where it's really hard to get good at a game based on skill alone. And I hate that. I hate how they're adding things like more and more suppression, it feels like, to every Battlefield game, less recoil to weapons, making it easier to snipe, making it easier to camp. And all of this feels like it's taking away from what made Battlefield in the first place. And I hate the casualization of games. I understand why they do it from like a business standpoint, but as a player, I don't like it at all.
It's interesting. Mambo, give us your feels and maybe we'll discuss at the end. I wanted to get everybody out there to just think about, like, what is your opinion on the casualness, and definitely gonna open it up to us. And I see the discussion in the chat is already flowing, man. People are saying too casual, not casual, way too casual. So this is something that we're all divided on. But Mambo, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it is a little casual. When I can go on a 60 kill streak and live on the ground at that, not even in a vehicle. That's crazy. But at the same time, as Battlefield lover, I love having new people enjoy the game that we enjoy. So at one aspect of it, yes, I think it is a little too casual, but the other aspect of it, we love having new people that have gotten upset at other game series. I won't say the game series name, but
Call of Duty.
we embrace people that have switched over from that genre of game style and coming over to the Battlefield series. So for that aspect, I love the way it is, but the other aspect of it, yeah, it could be a little too casual. Now, I did see an article, I think it was on Twitter, where the CFO of EA said that they're very interested in getting to a competitive Battlefield series, much like a CS:GO, Rainbow Six series, in the next Battlefield game. So it makes me think that they're going to go hot and cold on us. They're going to make it a game that's a little bit more friendly to the masses, and then they're going to make a game that's real strict, like more Rainbow Six style. So I really think that Battlefield could do a game like Rainbow Six a lot better from the Battlefield Close Quarters DLC and Battlefield 3. If they would do some game modes like Rainbow Six, they could knock it out of the park as far as competitive. But at the same time, I do enjoy having a lot of my so-called word Christmas noobs out there, Christmas nubs. Makes it fun. But at the same time, yeah, I should not be able to go on a 60 kill streak on the ground. That's ridiculous.
All right, cool. Flack, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to say that it's not too casual. And the reason that I feel that way is that I'm still finding things out about this game. Like in the regards of like what you can actually do. So like I did a video about smoke grenades, and it's like, oh, you can actually use them to unspot your teammates or to keep enemy vehicles from seeing landmines or spotting landmines. So you can use it for that. I'm looking at a whole bunch of things that the different melee weapons can do. So there's a lot of stuff that's out there that I think people just don't really think about or know that they can do. And it's like, oh, if you play with a proper team, or if you play with a proper squad, I don't think it is too casual, because you can assign roles, like it's as casual as you make it. Like if you want to play it like a competitive game, those are the kind of people that go 60-0 on the ground because they've got a squad backing them up and they're playing it as a squad-based shooter, whereas everybody else is doing it in the kind of like all for themselves role. And you know what? It's easy for me to play Battlefield 1 because I'll play towards the objectives or play with people who are playing as a squad. And as a result, I don't think it's too casual in that sense. My only complaint where I'm like, yeah, this is too casual, is the unlock system for the weapons, and that progression system. I look at that, I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit like, as much as I liked Battlefield Hardline and its system of just buying the things that you want or whatever. After playing Battlefield for like 2 weeks, it's like, well, I've unlocked everything that I want to unlock. Where's the end game? And there isn't one. So as a result, that's the area where I say, no, that's too casual. That needs some reworking. But I think the potential is there if people want to play, in that kind of hardcore sense. They can do it. They just have to be the ones to initiate it. And as with anything on the internet, a lot of people don't like talking or communicating or, anything along those lines. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, I feel where you guys are coming from, and I totally understand people talking about Battlefield is becoming casual. But when I think casual, I really think of some person with a phone and and playing one-fingered Bejeweled, that's casual, all right? Or you're on Facebook and you're playing, what's that thing, Farmville, that's casual. I don't think Battlefield 1 is the definition of casual, but I think it's getting closer, if anything. I mean, if you put casual here and you put hardcore over here, Battlefield 1's like there, you know what I mean? Not in the middle, I wouldn't say so, but it's more towards the other side if you're gonna put the perspective of gaming. But when you're just talking about the series itself, just Battlefield, it probably is got some of the most casual aspects that the series has ever seen. But at the same time, I think it depends highly on who you're playing up against. So if you are playing like a squad players, like your squad is all on point, I think it's DICE's fault in that way is how's the matchmaking creating a fair fight, I've seen matches where I've been joined by my friends who are level 90s, and we're holding each other's backs, and revives are there, resupplies, and just if I know he's on my right side, I'm covered, and we move as a team, and we get those high kill streaks, high KDs, and good games, and everybody's having a great time. But then I look at the end scoreboard, and I'm like, all right, we're 90s, and I don't know what happened there. And the end scoreboard on the other side is like 30s and 40s, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's not fair. Maybe like that's kind of like stacked on my side in favor of it, and then that's gonna create a match where it's just gonna be super easy for my team, whoever's on my team, because we're doing a lot of heavy lifting. So the game is more casual than it's ever been, but I don't think it is casual to the point where we have to kind of give up and look for a game that's more hardcore. Ultimately I play Battlefield for that reason, for the all-out warfare, destruction, and having the ease of everybody joining you. Your friends can join at any time, any server, whatever. It's always been notoriously good at that. Very extremely hardcore games like Counter-Strike, you can't just have your buddy join in mid-game. You've been playing for 45 minutes on this ranked match, and you can be like, well, hey bro, can I join you? Yeah, why don't you come back in a half an hour? It doesn't, that to me is like, sure, you might be having fun, but ultimately I like playing with people. That's why I've always gravitated to Battlefield.
Well, and how much of this here, when we're saying, oh, this is too casual, is because it's just the way that the game modes are. Like one of the reasons that people like Rainbow Six Siege so much is that it's like, oh, it's search and destroy basically. It's 5v5. There are no respawns, and so there's this higher level of tension, and there's this higher level of focusing on patience and skill and all this kind of stuff. And Battlefield's never really been about that. Battlefield has been about you died and respawned like 30 times in a match.
Yep.
Particularly on the 200% servers or whatever, but it's like that's just not inherent to the way Battlefield plays. And again, not saying that it can't play that way, or that Battlefield couldn't support something of that kind of search and destroy nature. But I mean, if being able to respawn is what makes it casual, then yeah, it's casual.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna mention I played a lot of like Diffuse in Battlefield 4, and then like Squad Rush in Battlefield 3. Those are more competitive 5v5 style game modes. So Battlefield can have those, and especially with like a Squad Obliteration in Battlefield 4. I feel like that game mode particularly was made for competitive play, like for esports and stuff. It never took off, but that's why I think that game mode was created, and I loved that mode. I played it constantly.
Think about all the countless hardline modes that were competitive geared as well. There was that MVP, and there was that other thing. I know they've been trying to get at that competitive thing, but ultimately I feel the reason that it's not working out for Battlefield isn't because the game modes are there or aren't there. You know what I mean? I think the reason is if I'm a Rainbow Six player, I'm a Counter-Strike Go player, I play the same game modes those pros are playing. And they're playing the same maps I'm playing with the same guns I'm playing. So I'm watching somebody who's better than me with better tactics. So when I get to play, I can try to use that. And that garners, viewer attention. And then that's going to garner a whole community that cares about competitive. And if you don't have a community that cares about competitive, you can have as many pro players as you want. You're never gonna have a competitive scene, you know. And to me, everybody who plays Battlefield is playing Conquest. They used to play Rush, or they would play Obliteration now. You know what I mean? Um, Non-competitive game modes, like Flak just mentioned. I don't know, man. I mean, would a player who only plays Conquest sit down and watch a match of Squad Obliteration? You know, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't even probably watch that. I don't play that game mode, so I'm like, why would I want to watch these guys play this competitively? You know, it goes back to Battlefield's roots of how do you make it competitive. You know, just we were talking. I know Izzy, you mentioned suppression, and you feel like there's more and more suppression, but I don't know. I think they had a lot of suppression with BF3, and then they toned it down. BF3 had a lot of suppression.
It did have a lot of suppression, but there towards the end of the game, they had tweaked it pretty well to where it wasn't as present.
Okay.
Same with Battlefield 4. Towards the end of Battlefield 4, there wasn't a lot of suppression. But then going into Battlefield 1,
There's
it's
suppression.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so is the bullet deviation. Feels like it's at an all-time high of bullets just going every which way when you're suppressed.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. You know, I'll be lined up right on a support player. I'm a little bit suppressed, and there go my bullets magically missing in a giant halo. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
It feels bad on the receiving end, but then it speaks to what Flack was saying, is the game is very realistic in its aspect, you know? And that's a realistic point that they try to keep bringing into it. You
I
know,
don't know if that's realistic. I mean, if I'm lined right up on somebody, yeah, if they shoot in my general direction, I might, you know, flinch a little bit, but my bullets aren't going to just magically miss if I'm aiming right at somebody. That's never going to happen. The bullet's going to fly straight no matter what.
yeah.
I liked how they did it in Battlefield 3 personally. Before they patched the suppression effect in Battlefield 3, they had made your screen go blurry. Not necessarily the bullet deviation. And when I remember some very intense firefights there in Operation Metro with the suppression effect on Battlefield 3, it really made the battles feel more intense. And I really enjoy those intense fights where it feels like I have to have my head down or I'm shot, and all I can do is toss a grenade over my head. It almost made it seem like a more real life scenario with
See, that makes sense.
screen
What
going
doesn't
blurry.
make sense is the bullet deviation. But like, you
Right.
know, more screen shake, you maybe having, you know, your gun be a little wobbly because you're scared or something because you're being shot at makes sense. But your bullets randomly deviating doesn't make sense at all.
Right. No.
I mean, I agree that if they want to make it, the gunplay would need to be tweaked for a competitive thing, you know. But then that forces me back into that argument. What I feel, you know, ultimately, if we're gonna sit down and start watching pros play Battlefield, but they're playing with suppression turned off, and they're playing with like all these different things, you know, obviously aim assist should be off and all the other stuff, but you know, you start tweaking the game so much that it's not the viewer is not watching the game that they play, and
Right.
and who wants to watch the game that they don't play, you know? So there was a comment, forgot, well, let's see who posted there. IMBW mentioned that Battlefield 4 had a competitive scene, but it didn't attract any attention. And Battlefield 4 is regarded as a pretty good battlefield, you know? So even when you have a non-casual battlefield, the competitive scene wasn't there, you know? Whoever's gonna get that job, we were talking about this earlier, that DICE is recruiting somebody to do competitive for them, like to start gearing it towards that. Izzy, who did you say you think it was?
I think it was Fnatic Drunks. I think that's who it was.
I mean, I don't know the player, but I mean, if he's on that team, because I know that's a very popular team, he must know competitive. So it might be in good hands. I just don't know if they'll be able to translate that, because ultimately that's a difficult task to tell somebody, watch this game mode of a game you like, which you don't play, because you want to respect the people who are playing it. I don't know.
Well, I think the reason like competitive Battlefield 4 didn't take off in terms of like viewership was that all the tournaments and stuff were only held on PC. and there was like no console tournaments, which is the majority of Battlefield players. I mean, PC
Yeah.
has a strong audience, but there are more
Yeah.
console players, and they had nothing set up for console, so people can't even hope of playing competitive on console right now for Battlefield. So why should they be interested in watching something they could never participate in?
Right.
Which I think is one of the reasons it didn't get as popular as it could have been. Hopefully that'll change though, going forward.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're all here, right? Because we're all console players, and the space has no content driving the discussion about consoles other than maybe our podcast. Haven't really seen much in the talk, especially in the Battlefield scene. I know there is a competitive Battlefield console space, and it is growing, but I'd like to see where it could go, and what kind of changes they can make to it. I mean, I agree that suppression is part of the game, but it shouldn't be. Because if I had the skill to zero in on someone, I shot him,
Exactly.
I don't think there's no suppression in CSGO, is there?
No.
Or is there suppression in Rainbow Six?
I think your screen might blur a little bit if you get shot at.
Yeah, yeah.
And like weapon sway.
But does it deviate your bullets, like you said?
That, no.
I don't know
No.
about that.
I think Battlefield's the only game that does that. But thinking of casual stuff, what do you guys think about there not really being any weapon customization in Battlefield 1? Like no attachments. I hate that. I miss being
That's
able to
weird.
customize my weapons. It's another reason I called it casual, because if you go to Battlefield 4, sometimes looking at that screen could be overwhelming with so many choices, which is why I think they did away with so much of that, trying to make it appeal to more people. But I don't like that at all.
Right.
I want to be
Like
able to customize it.
Right, like Benson there in the chat says, Benson says the respawn is the reason why it seems casual, because you're respawning. With Rainbow Six and CSGO, you do not respawn. You have to watch your teammates play, so you have to think about your decisions. Otherwise, the risk of dying is the reason you don't want to, you got to play smart. Otherwise, you don't get to play anymore.
But
Yeah.
I would say, you can look at Overwatch. Overwatch is a respawn mechanic, and Overwatch is competitive and taken quite seriously. So respawn doesn't have to be the reason. You don't think Overwatch is being taken seriously as a competitive?
Sort of.
Way more
think
than Battlefield.
Well, definitely more than
It is in some ways because it has more of that teamwork type potential to it, where you can strategize with different things. And, Battlefield has a little bit of that, but nothing on that same level.
I would say Overwatch competitive is more serious than Rainbow Six.
I disagree. But
I
that's my
disagree with
opinion.
that.
I mean, just based on the viewership and based on how much money is involved and everything else, I would say so.
Maybe because the hit detection is so much better in Overwatch than it is in Rainbow Six on console.
Or just even on PC too, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Hit
You guys are
detection's
laughing,
wonky.
Black. Izzy, what are you laughing about? Hit detection?
Yeah,
That drives me bonkers on
I
console.
100% agree with you, especially with Rainbow Six.
Rainbow
Yeah,
Six's
it's-
hit tick rate is disgusting. This
it's
is why I
not very
can't take
good.
it serious.
And that's something, Ubisoft needs to work on that. If they want it to be a very serious competitive type of game. Battlefield has its own problems in that regard. But
I think it's got to do with the server side hit detection that makes Battlefield much better than a client side peer-to-peer hit detection, which doesn't work well.
it doesn't ever.
Yeah, no, you need to have dedicated servers. Come on, man, it's 2017.
Right.
Yeah.
If I think if the console market had the faster tick rate, it would really help out Rainbow Six. But this isn't a podcast about Rainbow Six. It's how much we love
Yes.
Battlefield because of the mechanics Battlefield has in its engine.
Yeah.
Server side hit detection.
Beautiful.
This is why I think if Battlefield DICE wanted to do a competitive game mode where you have 5v5 in a close quarters environment, defuse the bomb or whatever it is, they would do so much better than what Ubisoft is trying to do. They just need to step up to
agree.
the plate.
But they would need to really downsize the maps.
Right.
Well, of course, for any competitive.
And
you'd have to have the
absolutely
maps
no
built for it.
vehicles.
Yeah, no vehicles, and you would have to design maps specifically for competitive play. You would have to take a portion of the map and design that around a competitive game type, which I think they could do. The maps are big enough where you could have one area specifically designed for competitive.
You
I mean,
know,
that hasn't been done, but it could be.
I've always said that my favorite Battlefield's always been Battlefield Bad Company 1 because they only had one game mode and the maps were tailored to that game mode. Later on, they came out with Conquest and that was a DLC because people were like outcrying, like, what happened to Conquest? But that's the key to making good FPS game. You can't just have good net detection and good gunplay. You realistically have to have those maps designed to the game mode that you're gonna play.
I completely agree. I miss a lot of the maps from Battlefield 3 because some of them were tailored to the game types. You had maps that worked really well in Conquest and maps that worked really well in Rush. But then moving to Battlefield 4, it was like, we're going to make everything work on one map.
And then you get those sections like, this is like and you start feeling like it. Like you're playing a rush mode, you rush game, and all of a sudden you get to this section where it's like very TDM-esque, and you're like, I know what you guys thought here, because this is going to be the TDM section of the map, Exactly. And I don't think that works. I don't think that works.
They did it with Battlefield 1 as well, trying to cram everything together. I would almost rather them build specific maps for specific game modes and just play Rush on a few maps that are made for Rush and just play Conquest on a few maps that are made for Conquest if it's going to be really, really well done versus trying to fit everything on one map that doesn't work as well.
Yep.
My own personal opinion.
So we have a 77 talking about in the comment says Battlefield needs to be competitive with 32v32, which is what the game mode is designed for. But good luck getting all the people, together like that.
Oh no,
it's just hard to watch.
It can't be more than like 10 at most on each team, 5 ideally.
Yeah.
32 way too much, and that's just the nature of competitive play. Like it's not. Like our minds can't keep track of 64 people playing the game at once, like 5v5 is pretty much the way to do it if you're going to do it competitively.
Yeah.
Which is sad because then it takes away everything that people would say is great about Battlefield, where you've got, just absolute mayhem going on and explosions everywhere and vehicles coming out of nowhere. So is competitive Battlefield a traditional Battlefield game, I think would be a good discussion. Like if it does come to fruition, would you call it Battlefield?
Well, I think the cool thing about Battlefield is you can do both, right? You can have these large scale battles and then also have like a competitive scene at once. If something like Rainbow Six Siege decided to add 64 player massive battles, it wouldn't make any sense at all and it would be awful. But I think Battlefield can do both. I think the game is structured in a way where you could have both.
You can definitely scale down.
Some domination of Battlefield 4 competitions?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
How many players is dominations again?
10v10 or 12v12, I think, in Battlefield 1.
Okay.
Battlefield 4 had some ESL tournaments on domination. I remember watching them and I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
The ideas that they do.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, we're kind of coming over to the end of talking about what makes Battlefield 1 casual. And if you guys have questions right now watching live, then just stick around till the end. We're going to answer just random questions that haven't been answered right away or not. We're just going to move on to our last section for talking points that we've kind of decided that they're good enough to have a good discussion on here. And we want to kind of throw it out there because it's something that's been in our minds. And the last thing that we're going to get into is there's this idea of very overrated weapons and this idea of very underrated weapons. Rather than like in Battlefield, like what's been my experience is rather than having a well-balanced and be like, oh, I could run this weapon or this one, always just kind of have like an idea like, sure, there seems to be a gravitation in every class, like, and you watch it on YouTube as well, right? Oh, what's the best whatever gun? And they're not wrong, because there usually is, right? I mean, there usually is that one best weapon in this class, one best weapon in that class. And is that a fault of DICE? And so we want to talk about most overrated weapon. We've all kind of chose one. And most underrated weapon, we all kind of chose one. And let's go down and below and go with Flakfire first. What do you feel?
Most overrated weapon is the Hell Regal for me. I play the assault class like 90% of the time, so um, the Hell Regal, like, yeah, it's got a large magazine on it. It's got a good fire rate. It's got a good range on it, and all that fun stuff. But um, one of the key things for me is that it doesn't have a bayonet, and that in a lot of ways makes it a lot less valuable to me with how I play the assault class. So I get basically the same performance out of the MP18, and I can put a bayonet on it. Like, yeah, I got to reload a little bit more often, but I feel like that's overrated. And then for the one that is the most underrated, um, that in that case, I would have to say the MP18, just because as soon as everybody gets to the Hell Regal or to the Automatico, they just completely ignore
Yeah.
that one and say, oh, this one is much better. And it all depends on how you look at the bayonet charge, I guess. But for me, I think that one's pretty underrated there. And there are some comments in the chat about the Benet Merci, and I would agree with that one too. I think with the support class, that one is pretty underrated as well. It's a pretty decent weapon for Battlefield 1's most underpowered class in the game.
So when you say MP18, do you have, since we kind of have to talk about this, do you have the, what do you call it, from the 3 different versions? Which version are you talking about? Or just blanketing the weapon?
The experimental is garbage. So
really?
Just yeah.
I love that.
I don't
actually.
know, man. I don't know.
I love that.
Again, it's all how you play the game. Like, I am very like up in people's faces in Battlefield 1. So staying at distance is not something that I'll typically do when I'm playing the assault. So in that regard, I don't really appreciate the burst fire because I don't play in a way that suits it. So I would say, just the storm version, and I'm not one to really hip fire either. So the one that has a better ADS stability is more what I prefer.
So the optical, that's your underrated. Interesting. All right, Mambo, what you feeling?
If I see somebody playing Battlefield 1 in their support class, I see them always migrating to the bar. The bar seems to be the most overrated weapon in my mind, at least for the support class, and that drives people to not play the support class, I think, because if the weapons were stronger, I think, for the support class and at a better balance, I think more people would play the support class. Like, I know, Echo, you mentioned you love the Bennett Merci, and I love that gun as well. I'm kind of the player that plays certain guns on certain maps now. I don't know if you guys do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Argonne Forest, I'll use the bar. But on Shanghai, I mean not Shanghai, but Sinai Desert, I'll use a different sub. I mean light machine gun, like the Bennett Merci, or one of the other ones. The MG15 is just ridiculous at range if you bipod up, like on Giant Shadow. I can wreck with that thing on Giant Shadow, but I do better with that gun than the bar on Giant Shadow. So I think for light machine gun class, the bar is the most overrated, overused.
Yeah.
I think the lack of recoil with that gun, that Browning is what it was back in the day. It was a very popular gun, so they made it popular in the game. Underrated, I'd say an underrated gun would be the carbines for the sniper class. The Gewehr, the Gewehr, the Gewehr carbine version with a red dot sight is ridiculous. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's too easy to snipe in Battlefield 1." I get sniped less in Battlefield 1 than any other Battlefield game that I ever played. Battlefield 4, getting sniped from rooftop campers drove me bonkers. But in Battlefield 1, I can out-snipe people at distance, but at close range with the carbine version of the sniper class. I like to play that aggressive sniper. So I think that is a very underrated weapon. Because if you hit them once, you still get to count as a kill, right?
For sure.
So you can get. I've started off 20-0 every time I use it, just because you get one hit on them and you get it count as a kill.
Yeah.
I think it's underrated. The carbines of the sniper class are ridiculous. The MK3 and the Gear needs everybody in the Battlefield community. Throw one of those on, you will be surprised.
You know what? That's interesting because I never throw that gun out. So, Izzy, what you got?
All right, I'm gonna say the overrated weapon. Okay, it's the Hellriegel for sure. Way too many people gravitate towards it, and it's not a bad gun, but it's really not that special either. The ammo pool is kind of low. I know it has a big mag, but I just think something like the Automatica or the MP18 is gonna win in more situations. So it's just overused, highly. Now for underrated weapons, I'm gonna go with the MG15 low weight. And I know people are like, what the hell? That weapon is awful, but it is a laser beam bipoded up. It's situational, but if you can get to an objective like on Rush or Domination, that thing is a laser. You can out-snipe people with it across the map, no problem. Highly accurate. You sit down and you can lock down a whole area. If you can see somebody, you can drop them with it. I've been using it and I've had some incredible scores. You know, just defending. You're not gonna run a gun with it, but if you bipod up, it's incredible.
Interesting. That is like the version of the MG15 I don't play.
It's a little weird, but it's a good one.
All right. So for my most overrated is the Automatico. I feel like everybody I run into with the assault class, if they're not rocking this shotties, they're all running Automatico, man. And sure, it is beast up close, but the rest of it is just kind of meh. Medium, it barely gets kills, and at long range, forget it. You just run away or do something else. I think it's just super overrated. The most underrated weapon, and I think support is very underrated. It's my personal favorite class, and I'm gonna go say my Benet, because the Benet, just once you just press and hold the fire button, all of a sudden, sure, your first few bullets are just kind of all over the place, but after a while, they just laser beam without having to have a bipod.
And you don't like the Matson?
No, please. The Madson's just bad. Somebody said, oh, the Madsen in the chat, right? And I was just like, yeah. I had to type in there, dude, no, the Madson's just bad.
The Madsen is decent as long as you can avoid looking at the giant magazine in your face.
Why don't you play with one eye open? Just do yourself a favor. No. I mean, the Benet is just laser beam. Like some of these support guns could be laser beam accuracy if you start bipoding them, but the Benet doesn't even need a bipod. You just run around with the Storm version and you're good to go. I mean, I feel that the bar is overused. So that is overrated, and when I use it, I use like the weirdest portion of it. I use the telescopic one. I don't know why, and I have full zoom in on it. Yeah, I know. I don't know, and I see that one's like the underrated, overrated bar. Like we can go under over, which is funny because we both liked the experimental MP18, and Flax
I like that. I love burst weapons. There really aren't many in Battlefield 1. In fact, is that the only burst weapon?
It is the only.
Yeah. I think that's why I like it. I miss the M16A4 a lot.
Or the FAL. Was it not the FAL? What was the gun in Modern Warfare 2 that had the burst fire? They used a lot of the burst fire in Modern Warfare 2, and that was ridiculous. I was like, wow.
The MP16, or not MP16, the M16 did
A4,
burst fire.
Yeah, in Battlefield.
Yeah.
The FAMAS.
FAMAS was burst fire?
Yeah.
In Modern Warfare?
It's been a long time since I've played that.
Yeah. I'm going back. But yeah, burst fire. The experimental is the only one that has it, right? In Battlefield 1?
I'd like to see maybe some more burst weapons in the game. That's lacking.
I admittedly would like to see more that are select fire. because there's only a couple of them that are, um, and I think most, if not all of them, are in the medic class.
Yeah.
And they are the only ones that I use in that class, with the exception of I just unlocked that level 10 self slaughter. And there's a comment in the chat about, what do you guys think about the crappy level 10 guns?
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was the biggest letdown, like,
you know,
grinding to rank 10 for those.
And they nerfed all the good ones. Hellrigger got a nerf, and I think people remember it to be so good, and it received a nerf, and they still forgot that there was a nerf, or they're uninformed that it got a nerf. So they're still playing the Hellrigger. I don't know why. I would always go with the MP18 over it. And then the elephant gun, the Martini, got a nerf. Pretty significant. Still cool to shoot.
It's awful now. It's unusable. I mean, there's no reason to use it.
I mean, unless you're trying to... Yeah, unless you're really trying to just work on your pistol kills. Switch.
Yeah, when DICE nerf something, they go all the way. They turn it into a full-on nerf gun.
Oh, man. So, the level 10s, man. The level 10s.
And I actually did like playing with the self-slaughter. Just the downside was that you had to reload it every 5 rounds. And at that point, it's not much better than the Browning Model 8, which was, again, a decent gun, because you can drop people with, you know, 3 rounds out of the magazine. But it's like, oh, if you're facing 2 people, well, that's 1 and, 2/3 of a person, which means that second person is going to kill you before you're able to take them down, unless you switch to your pistol or something.
You know, that's an interesting conversation there. Like, what do you guys feel about the switch to your pistol? Sometimes I feel like it's too slow.
Yeah, way too slow.
I'd agree. Way too slow.
That would make it more. That would probably make it a little bit more competitive if you could switch to your sidearm faster.
I would agree.
Switching to your sidearm should always be faster than reloading. Always.
Oh, yeah, and sometimes it's just weird.
It's just faster to reload in Battlefield 1 with a lot of the weapons. Except for maybe some of the LMGs, but, with a lot of, like, the assault rifles and stuff, it's way quicker just to slap in a new mag.
Wow. Yeah, and the other thing was, since we are on the topic also, we discussed the DLC, and then DLC, they left out the weapons. And, they have that whole system about putting in one weapon and 3 versions of it. Do you guys suppose they're gonna carry that over?
Probably.
They better not.
They probably will. I hope they don't.
I don't mind if they do it, as long as I get 4 distinct weapons and then, like, subsets of each weapon.
Yeah, watch them add 1 weapon for the DLC.
Yeah, with, like, and
3
here's
variants.
4 versions of it. Like, no.
No, that would that'd make me mad.
So
I'm curious if they're gonna add more ranks to the classes, like put it to rank 20, and you have to get there in order to unlock the new weapons.
That's a grind.
That's a whole nother podcast, right? Talking about progression system and unlocks and stuff like that.
Let's just not touch that with a 10-foot pole. Now imagine. That's a definite discussion point. But I feel like we've kind of discussed our topics, and hopefully you enjoyed that. And we're gonna kind of open it up to a forum. You guys ready to just throw it out there, or you still have a ending thought on what we've been discussing today?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
All right, Mambo.
No, I'm good, man.
All right, so we're gonna open up the forum, and as it was before, and it always will be on this podcast, is you guys, the viewers, will get an opportunity to ask us questions and drive this conversation, because the point of us coming together as content creators here is not just to get our opinion heard by DICE. It's really an opportunity for you guys and everyone who cares about this game as much as we do to get your opinion heard on it. So try to keep your questions normal. Don't throw out, I saw somebody put in the chat, put a bayonet charge on a Colibri. Guys, that's not gonna happen. I mean, wait, we did get a bipod on a knife. All right, maybe. Bayonet charge and Colibri. Like a little... So if you have a question that's directed to just one person, just say @blank, and just throw your question. Or if you have a question directed at all of us, you want all of our opinions, just say @the crew or crew, CREW. So we're going to be opening up for those questions. In the meantime, you guys before we get the questions in. You guys feel like we would be playing some more Battlefield this week coming on?
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing Battlefield. Getting ready for the DLC. Got to practice, make sure everything's good and ready to go. Skills are on point.
Yeah, that's the same with me. You know, planning different videos around things in Battlefield. So in order to do them, you got to play it. So yeah, be doing quite a bit of that, and yeah, probably trying to psych myself up a little bit for the DLC.
Yeah, I can't wait for the DLC too. I was looking at the descriptions for the maps, and I was like reading through them, and I was like, whoa, this sounds cool because they all seem unique. You know, we're not getting just 4 maps based on just one idea. I mean, we're getting one that's super close quarters. I was surprised that they didn't put that in a vanilla. They had the lockers, they had Metro. You know, they've always had a vanilla map that's like inside, and
I'm
so we're
still
gonna
waiting. Still waiting for Metro 1918.
Please,
Still waiting.
please, Dice, make it happen.
I mean,
Please.
didn't you see the thing? There's like a cart on rails in this fort. That's Metro, right?
You know, that or locker certainly, yeah. But no, I'm
think
really
Metro-
hoping that there'll be a free map down the road that's Metro.
It would
Right.
that would make me so happy. Although the gas spam would be ridiculous. It might make it
Oh.
unplayable.
So somebody actually said in the chat, you know, thoughts on gas grenades, and I feel like there should only be one. Everybody gets one.
Or
One per life. No getting
isn't
more out of
Jack
ammo
Frag?
box.
Isn't Jack Frags reporting that only support class is getting gas grenades? Maybe. I know he kind of gets
Ooh.
insight
Yeah.
on things.
That's very interesting.
That would make it
Give
more
it to
valuable,
the
but
class
weapons
that's
would
least
still
played.
suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Least played class, you guys get the gas grenade. You know
Over
what?
nerf. Yeah.
You know what what was my idea was if you have snipers, they shouldn't have gas masks. Instead, when you press up, they should go canted.
That would be cool. It would encourage them
Scope.
not to run around and try to quickscope and make them play their position of supporting roles, of being back a little bit and not just charging in. Make them a little more wary.
All right, so we got a question in the chat. Let's see if I can get to it. Ariel says to the crew, why is this game like night and day console versus PC wise? You say that the Automatico is overrated and the Benet is a good weapon. On PC, 80% of people run with the Automatico, and we all know it's OP on PC, and if you die from the Benet, you know you got trolled. No one used that gun. Are the weapon stats the same on both platforms? Or am I missing anything? They're completely the same on both platforms. However, recoil is so much harder to manage on console than it is on PC. That's the main key component here. Now, I've played on PC and I've played the Benet and I still got top 2 when I played. And I played the Benet. It's possible. I just don't think PC people like that sort of gameplay. Mambo, you talked about once that they don't zoom in.
Yeah. They shoot from the hip. I feel like a lot of PC players take advantage of Battlefield 1's so-called casual aspect of it, and they CS:GO it, what I call it. They just they shoot from the hip. I would like to watch some streamers play Battlefield 1 on PC, but when I watch streamers play Battlefield 1 on PC, I don't get the zoom in that us consoles guys enjoy doing and seeing that close-up view of shooting the guy. It seems like I'm looking at the whole screen rather than focusing on the object that his eyes are focused on. I mean, not all of us can invest in the Tobii eye tracking so we could see where the streamer's looking, or the YouTube guys, Flak, I want to watch you play Battlefield 1 and see how you get down. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're not aiming down sight, then I'm looking at the whole map rather than what you're looking at. So I prefer the aim down sight. They do, I think, need to add recoil to PC players. I don't know how they could do that, but yeah, I think that's a whole nother discussion for a later time. But
this game, and part of the reasons we opened up the forum on this podcast, is this game plays differently on each platform. Even though PlayStation and Xbox are very similar in the way they play out, because the controllers aren't that much different, that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about these things, is so that DICE can understand that when they make differences to the games, they should listen to the community separately. you know, because a certain difference must be made on console versus certain difference must be made on PC, you know. All right, so we're gonna try to go through this because the questions are just adding up over here, and I want to go thunder round over here. Let's jump into another question. This one was to Flak. Flak, well, they asked you, I forget who asked you. Let's see real quick. At Flakfire, best medic weapon by Hungry 4D Power.
Shea Regati.
Ooh.
Shea Regati is my one weapon of choice. Like I used to really love the single fire weapons, particularly in Battlefield Hardline. In Battlefield 1, I find them extremely hard to work with in the regard of, actually hitting people. It's hard to do with those weapons. But the Shea Regati I like because it's select fire, where you can have it set up for single fire mode if you're really trying to hit somebody from far away, or if you know you're going into an area where you're gonna maybe bump into somebody close up, you can click it over to full auto, and it'll still fire the same, but at least it's only one pull of the trigger instead of trying to rapid fire that. So yeah, Shea Regati for me.
And that's the trench version?
I believe so. I pulled it up here. No, it's just the factory version is the one that I will do because I always ADS like 99% of the time.
All right, we have another question to the crew. Says, do you guys ever play Friday Night Battlefield servers?
No. Every Friday.
I do. I do.
Mambo?
Yep. Yeah, as long as I'm not playing a beta, yeah, I'm on it.
Really? I'm the only one?
I'm always on the PlayStation official Friday night server, so you guys can find me there every Friday.
Well, that's cool. I guess I gotta step up my game and try to do that once in a while, but my girl doesn't. I get all these other days to play games, but Fridays.
It's not every week for me, but it's every couple of weeks I'll be on there for that.
Let's see. We have some other stuff going on in here. On the other hand, there's people that have on console. So probably aim assist as well, right? Oh, so we have another. We were talking about the whole aiming down sights part from PC versus console, and I guess people. The other question that Ariel had was, on the other hand, people ADS on console to profit from the aim assist. Do you guys feel that?
Yeah. I would say the aim assist is a little much in Battlefield 1, especially like the snap aim to people can be way too much.
Yeah, I would agree, and I'll admit that I benefit from it, and I think it's part of the way that you play the game on console.
Right.
When you got PC players, they got the mouse and keyboard, and with that you have a little bit more finesse on how quickly you can do something, and when you're working with little joysticks, it's kind of the trade-off that you get. So
especially if you don't,
is it maybe a little much in Battlefield 1? Probably, but I think it's part of the game, and I think part of skill on console is knowing when to use it.
Well, they toned it down. They toned down the snap-on stuff. But I've always been, this has been my mantra, is if you're sitting down every single day to play and you're a frequent player, turn off that snap-on because it's going to help you get better and more consistent. But if you're that person who's sitting down and you have a family life and job and everything else that it is, and you just get to sit down, for 2 hours, 3 hours a week playing your favorite game, which happens to be Battlefield, then why are you trying to put yourself at a disadvantage because you're not practiced at that point? Just sit there, turn on aim assist, have a go at it, and have a fun time with your friends. I think aim assist is for those reasons there,
That's a good point.
We got a comment for everybody here. What are your thoughts on being able to speak to fallen teammates to let them know you're going to revive them?
Who said that?
And that is from Beaten Buzzers, and we did talk about that a bit in the last podcast. Where I think we all said we'd like a system where we could claim, like I'm on the way to you, or it should flash on the screen and say, a medic is on the way. To let somebody know that they're coming to get you, so they don't skip that revive and potentially get the Rambo revive guy killed.
Yeah, I remember that, and that blew my mind. I was like, yeah, why isn't that part of it? It's just a big thing on the screen. They already put the whole. Remember that thing that you held up? It's like a friend is in the lobby or something. Like
Yeah, right.
join them.
It's already coded in there. Just change it.
Just change it to you might get revived. He's on his way. All right, yeah. All right. Another question. I am BW says, would you guys like the gun customization from Battlefield Hardline to make its way into Battlefield 1, like how you had full customization of camos, colors, maybe even gun engraving?
I think gun engraving would work, but with the World War One setting, you can't have people running around with like pink and purple guns with zebra stripes and stuff. I don't think it would work very well. It would clash horribly with the era. But engraving is a cool idea. Maybe being able to do some cool engravings on your gun, that I'd be all for.
Well, and we do kind of get that with our little designs that we make. I forget what we call emblems, right?
Emblems.
Yeah.
That those will actually show up engraved on your gun, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
I
to
have
something
Rick and Morty
separate,
on it.
yeah, like that would be some cool stuff. At the same point, yeah, Dice's hands are kind of tied with the era, right? You know, a lot of stuff didn't exist at that point. You know, you can't have, you know, like 6 different grips and a silencer, compressor, you know, whatever you want to put on there. Although they did technically have silencers, but you know, you're limited in that regard. And you know, if they do make it the way that they did it in Battlefield 1 or in Battlefield Hardline, that kind of pulls you out of that era and that immersion, what little there is in terms of actual World War One stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. But I will say that, you know, unless you're one of those lucky people with the super rare skin for the tank, you can run around with stripes and gold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're very careful about letting you run around with stripes and like fancy colors, but they're also, it's in the game. It's in the game somehow.
Yeah. I think one thing that I would take instead of that would be, you know, the ability to customize your person. You know, in some regards of like maybe changing the face, or you know, we need to have some awesome mustaches. So you know, like that would be fun to be able to do that. You know, within, you know, certain boundaries, but that would be a fun way to take ownership of the character and the class that you're playing.
We did get an interesting comment by Beaten Buzzers again. I'm sick of all the swastikas and the inappropriate stuff in there. I mean, you know, we do have the liberty to make whatever we want in these emblems. How do you guys feel about that? Like, I'm a live streamer and I try to keep a clean stream. And whenever someone kills me with a swastika, I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. You know, like.
Well, but there's a system to report people. Unfortunately, I don't think that does anything, like, ever.
Another thing about that support system is like it's very convoluted to get to the support system. Like after I get, you know, shot and I die and somebody's, you know, boob emblem comes up in my face, in order to report that person, I have to go to like the leaderboard, find that person's name, select it, open up something, and then report emblem. Like it should just be like I get killed by that person, I should have a one-hit button to report emblem. Like
I agree.
In the screen before I go to respawn.
And it actually needs to do something if you report them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even if you do manage to report someone, it doesn't do anything.
That is true.
Right. Maybe it should send you a confirmation message to your PSN. We've got your report. It will be looked into, or something like that. Some way of acknowledging that you have reported something.
There is a confirmation message from PSN when you report someone on PSN for something, when you ban someone. They do that. Though. But that's PlayStation. But we're talking, you know, EA and DICE, they don't necessarily do anything about it. We kind of feel, I haven't ever seen anything.
Well, and there also has to be like, you know, something that'll actually happen. if these people use these kind of emblems or things, and it's like, from what I know of, like they just blank your emblem.
Yeah.
Like,
And
and
I've
what do they
seen
do?
some
They
that
go
are
back and they do it again. Like disable their ability to create custom emblems for like a month, and maybe
Right.
they'll learn something. But otherwise,
They'll just
you
make a new
know,
one, right?
Yeah, there needs to be some punishment. I've seen some that are like really offensive, like homophobic, racist kind of stuff. And I'm like, this doesn't need to be here. This isn't okay. Like
Right.
beyond, boobs or something, stuff that's really hurtful and offensive to people. And there needs to be some punishments for that set in place.
So we have a question from Staff Only Studio. Says to the crew, cavalry hit radius thoughts. Cavalry hit radius. I'm not sure what he completely mean about the hit radius. Does he mean like distance?
Maybe they toned that down.
Yeah, I
I'm a
used
ca-
to be
I'm
able
a
to
cavalry
snipe people.
guy. I made a cavalry video on my YouTube channel going on a crazy kill streak with the cavalry. The hit radius, like swinging at somebody, yeah, they toned it down, but I think it's got to do with netcode.
Did they also tone down accuracy, Mambo? I feel like from in the beta you were just very accurate at hip with the cavalry.
Oh, you talking about shooting the gun from the horseback, or are you talking about swinging the sword?
Oh, the radius of the sword has been toned down too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it was toned down. It was toned down. You could hit somebody 30 feet away with it before. Now
30 feet away inside a building.
right,
It's happening.
Inside a building? Oh, I want to
Yeah,
see
I'll
that
hit the
video.
corner of the building with the sword, but I still get the kill. It's like, what? I think that was
Wow.
a netcode problem.
That is a netcode issue. I see me getting killed by horses that just travel towards me. I'm like, I duck down and I'm dead anyway. And then like it's before he hits me, but I'm pretty sure on his screen he's already close to me. He's already slashed me, and I'm like, okay, because the faster you move, the more blatant netcode seems to appear, like unfair. If you're moving very slowly and you kind of just hit. Bad netcode is not so visible. That's why Rainbow Six netcode is not as visible, because you're very slow in that game. Even the fastest characters. If you're moving at the speed of Battlefield, which people are saying is not a fast game, but it's a decent speed. It's regular, like Battlefield 4 doesn't feel slower to me. And then you start getting on cars and horses and stuff like that. It's moving even faster. Then it's really harder to get that whole netcode, and it becomes more apparent.
Yeah.
Do we have another question?
Well, we got
Somebody
one,
said, "Do we get somebody said, "Do we get bored now that we're at level 100 with the game?"
No way. I'm not bored one bit.
I wish
not
there was more
there yet,
levels.
so
I may get mad when I play the forest nowadays. I really don't like it now. That used to be my favorite operation, but I don't like going to the forest anymore.
Yeah. I've played a few of those maps too many times.
No, it's just too many nades. In the beginning, it wasn't so bad. Now it's just like, I try to get the flank route, and then there's like 6 grenades on my floor, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Right. Well, somebody mentioned earlier too about slowing down the grenade spam in general in the game, and maybe make it like cooking a grenade. Where you hold on to a grenade before you throw it. I mean, I've watched training sessions of people actually pulling the pin of a grenade and having to get rid of it. It's on a timer, right? Those igniters inside a grenade. So I think it should be, maybe timed a little bit longer to help reduce that grenade spam.
Yo, how do you feel about heroes and generals like unit purchasing and deploying for your team to use in the game in real time? Comes from Recon Blue Civ. Heroes and generals. Like, are you talking about like Battlefield 4 had Commander? I'm not 100% sure on his question.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, next question. Crew, I am 2Dopes asking, crew, grenades lose damage when you're dead?
No.
No.
I think that's just net code. If you die after you
While
throw
you are
it,
throwing it, yeah.
yeah, you don't get the hit. The server washes out that hit.
Yeah,
Or sometimes you'll kill someone as they're throwing a grenade, and it'll count as yours, and you'll get a kill for it.
Yeah, that's always been in Battlefield.
Yeah.
That's always been the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Oh, I got a grenade kill. How did I do
Yeah.
that? Oh, I shot the guy with the grenade in his hand, and he dropped it and killed his buddies beside of him. So you get the kill. Yeah, I love those.
Yeah, this is very funny stuff. You know what's the funniest that's ever happened to me? Where I shot some guy and it said team kill, and then he became on my team. And I was like, because my friend was trying to join on me, but he was on the other side. And as soon as I killed him, now he's available to go back into the screen, so he could be switched, because he's not in the game. That happens in Battlefield, and it gives you a team kill. I was just like, wow, really? Battlefield, exactly. The troll. Okay, so we have a question on here. Cabana says, grenades need a longer time or you can actually run away from them. I feel like it's normal.
Sometimes I feel like that. I'll see the grenade land and it's like, oh no, I'm gonna die, because you can't run away. But at the same time, if they have a really long fuse, they wouldn't be all that useful.
Yeah.
Did they actually have impact grenades back in that time era? The impact grenade drives me bonkers.
They had them?
Yes.
Yes,
really?
they did. Germans in particular, yeah.
Wow.
Actually, the one that's in game is modeled after the German impact grenade.
Man,
Drives me crazy.
it drives me crazy too. I feel like there's no chance. That's very strange. Well, if it was in the era, all right. I'm not gonna argue that. I like authenticity. All right, guys. So we can take one more question, and then we're gonna have to just close off. So let's see. NCBA, you got the last question of the day. Crew says, if there was only one map you could play, what map would it be?
Ooh, good one.
That's a great question.
No, I'm kidding.
Really? Because that's a great map. Izzy, what's up, man? One map from the maps.
I'm in.
Amiens, good map. Mambo.
Ballroom.
Great map.
I gotta think about that. That is a tough question.
Well, I'll throw out mine. I'll play Suez. I like it.
Suez
I like it.
It is a good map.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't like it.
It's got some sniping in the dunes, and it's also in the city. There's like lots of close quarter, lots of destruction. I like it. I don't like the behemoth, but I like it.
It's almost like our version of Metro, because Metro is linear.
Yeah.
But the way I like it better than Metro is that you're not bound to go down certain tunnels. You can actually pick your flank route. That's why I like the canal. That is a very good map. I will agree with you on that. Anything
I'm gonna say St. Quentin. I really like it. I didn't get burnt out on it because I didn't get to play the beta or the alpha rather. And it's one of my favorite maps.
Nice.
I like that one. I think the Conquest is the best played on St. Quentin.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Cool.
That one is a lot of fun under ops too.
On operations?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
the first parts with the trenches are hard. Very hard.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so you guys got a chance to ask us questions. That's the best part of this podcast, is that you guys are involved if you're here live. So we're gonna close it off right now, and before we close it, make sure that we'll go around and give our links and things like that if you haven't been reading the little tab at the bottom. First of all, if you are interested in giving us ideas for questions and you want to fuel the conversation, you can join in live here on twitch.tv/Ekolimits. Every time that we record it, we record twice a month. So in 2 weeks, we will be right back. Or you can send your questions over at the Let's Talk Podcast at gmail.com. Okay. The other bit of news that's going to be is that iTunes will most likely be coming this week. So this podcast will be recorded and posted there. Otherwise, it will also be posted at Flakfire's and Izzy's channel. You can watch it there recorded, and you can comment away. Most of us are always in the comments there and guiding the conversation, because the conversation doesn't need to end when we necessarily stop recording. So let's go around. Flak, tell them some links where they can find you when you're not out here.
All right. Well, as usual, you can find me over at youtube.com/FlakFireGaming. I also do a lot on Twitter, which is at Flakfire Gaming, so you can hang out there and follow me. I always do historically based stuff, so every day I'm posting pictures from like 1916 and 1918, that kind of stuff. Just neat little things that help you appreciate the era some more of when Battlefield 1 is set. But got that. Do Twitch a little bit here as well, trying to do that more often, and that's just twitch.tv/Flakfire, and that's about it.
Awesome. Mambo?
Yep, Mambo B on Twitch TV. You see the little title around our names on the Let's Talk podcast banners there. You can also find me on Twitter at Mambo_BEE, like the bug. I reply to most of my tweets that people throw at me, for sure. I check it a couple times every day. And yeah, I get a question a lot of times when people ask, how often do you, Echo and Flakfire and Izzy, do you guys talk? I was like, they want to know behind the scenes, right? So I said, yeah, we talk every now and then.
Yeah, we got a group chat on Twitter. We actually like using Twitter to talk. It's super easy, down in the DMs. No one gets to know.
Right.
All right, awesome. Izzy, where can we find you?
All right, guys, you can always find me on YouTube at youtube.com/IzzyGoneCrazy Gaming. And you could also follow me on Twitter too. That one's just at IzzyGoneCrazy. Super simple stuff, not too complicated. Just wanted to thank everyone again for watching, being such a great chat. And I just realized I have some extra codes here for the greatest community in the world, dog tag. So I'm gonna be throwing up some codes in the chat as we end up the stream here as well.
Woo, that's fire. We're gonna throw some codes your way. Obviously, if you're watching this pre-recorded, you're probably not gonna be able to score them.
I want one of those codes, Izzy.
I got you.
All right, so and then I'll give you guys my links. You see it right here. It's Ekolimits on Twitch. I'm also Ekolimits on Twitter. And like these guys, I like to stay vocal and just respond to everybody's comments. They're best place to talk to me when we're not creating any content here or talking about stuff live or recorded. Twitter is awesome to just reach out. And the last one, I do have a Snapchat, Ekolimits. Post random stuff. If you want to see random stuff, then go ahead. And with that, we're gonna do our sign-offs. Did we figure out sign-offs, or we just kind of go like this or like that, like All right, we gotta work on that. All right, thanks for watching. You just watched episode 2 of the Battlefield Let's Talk Battlefield podcast, and we will be back in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Stay classy from me.
Yep. Later.
Later.
Have a good one.